When I first came to Ananda, it was June 22nd of 1969, and there was almost nothing. Ananda village didn't exist yet. There was a meditation retreat. There were a few people living there, a handful, a couple hands full. There was a temple, the Dome Temple. There was the dining room. Kitchen was all one building. There was an office, and that was it. And in those days, I lived under a tree for the first months. It was a pine tree. I went to visit it last summer. And I couldn't quite tell which one it was, because the forest had grown up a lot in these past more than 40 years. And we just collected pine needles for a mattress. And then I graduated to a tiny, tiny trailer, then a teepee, and then back to the trailer after it started raining, because the floor got all muddy in the teepee. So from those first days when there was just about 12 people, Ananda has grown to be a worldwide work. I think that Swami Kriyananda always knew that, because this was Yogananda's vision. And Swami Kriyananda believes deeply, deeply in Yogananda's vision. He's a true disciple. He believes in everything that Master said and taught and asked him to do. But we had no idea about what it would be, could be. We were just living, trying to survive. When I came to Ananda, I had taken some yoga classes from Swami Kriyananda. I didn't know the autobiography of a yogi. I didn't know Yogananda, although I arrived with the autobiography in my backpack, unread. And I set about reading it. And after a few months, I thought, well, maybe I should learn to meditate, and knocked on Swami Kriyananda's door one day and said, would you teach me how to meditate? And he said, sure, come in. And I sat down, and he taught me how to meditate. And you know, those were the halcyon days of Ananda. He was already writing his books. He was writing the Raja Yoga, what we now call the Raja Yoga book, which was originally called 14 Steps to Higher Awareness. He wrote Satsang as a spiritual guide. Those were some of the early books. And he wrote them up at the meditation retreat in his dome. I'm hoping that dome now will become a temple, a shrine, because I was there. It still has wonderful vibrations, and it's a very important part of Ananda's history. The Ananda Meditation Retreat really is a pilgrimage place. So much happened there in the first years. In those years, Swamis from India started coming over to the United States. And that was, you know, the beginning of the yoga movement, especially in California. This was in 1970, 1971. And many saints came to visit Ananda. I remember them all. And they just loved what they saw there. Swami Satchidananda came, Swami Muktananda came, Swami Chidananda, who was Swami Shivananda's successor of the Divine Life Society of Rishikesh came, and on and on. Sant Keshavadas, Swami Vishnu Devananda, Swami Venkateshananda, a lot of the Shivananda disciples had come over, and others. And they all told us how blessed the land was, and how blessed we were. I remember when Swami Venkateshananda was one of the direct and very close disciples of Swami Shivananda. Do you know who Shivananda is?
Sure.
He was, okay. So he was Shivananda's personal secretary for 17 and a half years. And Shivananda said of him that he was the crown jewel of his work. And he was such a gentle soul and such a deep soul. And the Shivananda group had and still has in Grass Valley, near Ananda village, a yoga center. And so Swami Venkateshananda was visiting. He came to visit us at the village. And then we went to visit him at, it was called the Yoga Farm. And we'd go there in the mornings and meditate with him. And I remember this one morning we were meditating. After meditation, he said to us, he said, I'm going to tell you a story. This is the story of the day that I came to my guru, Swami Shivananda. And I had walked the length of India looking for him, knowing I wanted to be his disciple. And it had taken me months. And I came to Rishikesh, and I came to the Ganges River, and I was on the other side of the river, and I looked across, and I saw the ashram, the Divine Life Society. I was just thrilled. And as I looked across, I saw Swami Shivananda coming down the ghats, the steps of his ghat there, to take his bath and to meditate, because it was early in the morning. And I looked at him, and even from across the river, I just felt this deep contact and this thrill, and I could feel him looking at me. He came down that day to the river as though he was searching for me and welcoming me to his ashram. And so I crossed the river in a boat, and I fell at his feet. And he said, the thrill of that day was with me every single day that I lived with him. I relived that thrill, that moment, every day. And then he turned to us. There were just a few of us there. And he said to us, you will live many years with your guru and in your ashram. Always remember the thrill of the first day you came. And I always have. Because every day, you know, I wake up in Ananda Loka, somewhere in Ananda, in some Ananda in the world, on some continent. And I'm just so grateful to have found Master, and to have found Ananda, and to have found Swami Ananda. And I remember the thoughts of those early days. Anything was worth it to be able to be there. You know, there was no hardship. There was no sacrifice. You know, it was all just a great honor to be able to live a life that had meaning and had purpose and had potential and had a future. It was something to give ourselves to, you know, not a life that was going to drain us, but something that would give us energy and we could give ourselves to and spend our whole lives in building it. And so that thrill is there every day for me. So Ananda started with the 12 people, more or less, you know, just like the disciples of Jesus. And it has grown from local to global. And you are one of the global centers here. And you have been through your pioneering stages over these past, what, 20 years and more?
25 this year.
25 this year. So
formally.
You're a quarter of a century old, just like, pretty much like Ananda and Assisi. We just celebrated 27 years. This will be our 28th year in Italy. And so, you know, after the birth period, what happens when a person reaches 25 begins to make the family and to expand. So you're in your expansion phase right now. I'd like to tell you a little bit about Ananda's work in Europe, because you might think it's something far away and something that you're not so much connected with. But it's very much connected with Ananda. In the early 1980s, Swami Kriyananda was traveling. He traveled a lot, and he continues to travel a lot. That seems to be one of the themes of his life, of wanting to share as widely, as much as possible, with his every breath, with his every ounce of energy. So Swami was traveling in Europe, And he was always very well received in Italy, which was a puzzle to him because he didn't speak Italian. He spoke French, he spoke German, he spoke Spanish, but he didn't speak Italian. But that's where he was invited. And so he left a couple people after one of his trips in Rome and said, go ahead, build a center. And they were there for about a year and a half and got a little center going. They were learning Italian and giving yoga classes, meditation classes. And then he called them back because they were out there alone and there was no support group. And very soon thereafter, I think it was another year, year and a half afterwards, he sent out the first pioneering group. And I think that was in 1983. And they settled in the northernmost part of Italy, right at the foot of the Alps, very close to Switzerland, just a stone's throw away from Switzerland, near a lake called Lake Como, which is a very well-known lake. George Clooney has a villa on Lake Como, and I think Tom Cruise and other people. It's just a really beautiful place. And my husband and I went there in 1985 to help build the work. And we were in a villa that was given to us, rented to us by a devotee in Milan. The villa was a summer villa. It was big. There were a lot of rooms. You know, there was a basement and an attic and little mezzanines, and there was a garage and a kind of like a greenhouse. I know because we slept in all of those places. Because when the guests came, you know, we all moved out. I remember sleeping in the greenhouse. It was just incredible. Yeah, I mean, greenhouse, so to speak. Yeah, it wasn't that it was warm. But the reason I remember it is that they have, it was summertime, yeah, but it was Chernobyl summer. Do you remember Chernobyl? What happened, you know, there was the nuclear plant that melted down in Chernobyl. Chernobyl is in Ukraine, which is like spitting distance from Lake Como, and the radiation was coming over, covered, and there was no summer. It was cold the whole time. We hardly ever saw the sun. So anyway, we're sleeping in the greenhouse, and in the middle of August, they have a festival. It's called Ferragosto. It happens on the 15th of August, and it's a holy day. It's the day that Mary was assumed into heaven.
The Assumption.
The Assumption of Mary, the Mother of God. It doesn't seem to be such a holy day. It's just in the middle of the summer, and they play music all night and dance all night, you know. So there we were living in the greenhouse, and the music was going on all the time, you know, the accordions, and, you know, you think you were in a movie from the 50s. It was a summer villa. There was no heat, and there was no insulation. They don't know from insulation in Italy. And the people who owned it, they didn't live there in the winter. They never lived there in the winter. They would go there for 2 months in the summer and then close everything down. But we were living there full time. I remember that we spent most of our time under the down comforters. And we would have our meetings. We would go into the largest bedroom, and we would all get under the down comforters on this big bed and would have our leadership meetings. And we'd put on all the clothes we had every morning, would go down into the temple. The holy water on the altar would be frozen. It was amazing. It was humid. I remember that one of the first days I was there, they sent me out to the local store. Local store means, you know, like you climb up the hill, and there's what was there? There was a post office and a little grocery store, and they sent me to get milk, and I came back without milk because there were no bottles. You know, there were no bottles with white liquid. So they sent me back, and they said, milk comes in a box. In a box, square box. So, okay, I went, and because I didn't even know how to say milk, and brought back the milk, and the butter, and then we learned little by little how to go out and do the grocery shopping, and yeah, it was really quite an adventure. We were cold enough, and especially after we were all waiting for summer, and then it was Chernobyl, and then there was no summer. So we said, we've got to get out of here. This isn't working. And where are we going? South. Just anywhere. Just we got to get warm. And a pilgrimage group had come in that November with Swami. They had been in the Holy Land and then came through, and we were there at that time. And we then went down to Assisi, and Swami said, oh, this is a wonderful place. Maybe we should think of moving the work here. Well, nobody in our congregation, so to speak, the guests who came, they all wanted us to move where they were. The people from Pisa wanted Ananda to move to Pisa. The people in Rome wanted it to be in Rome. So, and they were fighting with each other. And so Swami just cut through it and said, we're going to Assisi. Because nobody would fight about that. Everybody loves Assisi. So we went down at least once or twice a month, took the train, went down, got off the train, found a hotel, and just started looking around for places. And we found one. It's actually a very interesting story, at least for us. Whenever we'd go down, we'd always happen to find the same taxi driver waiting at the station. His name was Reno. And he knew what we were doing there. We had enough Italian that we could explain that we were looking for property. And so he said, oh, I know a property, and he took us to the property where we now live. And it seemed small. It was a small hotel that where the owner and the builder of the hotel had died from a heart attack, and his family had to sell. But it was small. There was only 6 rooms and a couple bungalows, a very small piece of property. It just didn't seem promising. But as we continued to go down to Assisi, on 2 other occasions, people took us to that property. And the third time, when we got out and we went, this again, we thought, well, maybe it's a message. So we started to look around in the area, and we were able to rent many places to use for other housing and for activity center and so forth. And so we spent some months in cleaning it up, and people from Ananda village came over and helped us move, helped us clean the mold off of the walls and take out the head of the moose and the bear. Yeah. And fix the the pipes just like you're doing in Laurelwood, and replace them and get the heating system functioning and all of that. And we opened up, just like you did, we opened up on the 5th of May, which is Rajasi's birthday in 1987. And we really were shooting for that date. We wanted it just to be blessed by Rajasi. And we were kind of all huddled together in these little tiny bungalows that were full of mold and everything, and the guests would stay upstairs. And so from those humble beginnings, the work has grown. And today there are over 140 people living in the Ananda community. And we've acquired more property. We started out with just a couple acres. Our temple was in a hunting lodge that we had to move out of every hunting season. And they would hunt and bring the kill, inside the kitchen, and after a while we said, no, we can't do this. So, and then the Temple of Light was built, and that changed everything for us. It was not a little temple. You've all seen the pictures of it. You know what it looks like. And that really stretched us. to the maximum, getting the permission, which we never got and we still don't have. We built it, we're on agricultural land. It's not residential. It can be used for a hotel, but only agriculture buildings can be on it, beside the original hotel. So it's a barn, and it's still a barn, and we've been trying to get the zoning change for the last 15 years. Yeah, the problem is that the Italian governments change every year.
Oh.
You know, they're supposed to change every 4 years, but they don't. They can never hold a government together. The current one just fell after 10 months. And, you know, and so then new people come in and new regulations. And then the earthquake came, the earthquake of 1997, and it kind of destroyed the municipal building where our documents were. And they couldn't get into the building for 2 years. And so the documents were there, and then they probably lost them. And now they're bankrupt. The counties around us that who are trying to give us permission are bankrupt, so they don't even have the money to get their general plan approved. You know, and it goes on. It really is an Italian opera. It took us. It took me 25 years to get a permanent resident status. You know, there were times when for years we had no document. It's just a totally different culture. But as I was talking about today, it's a totally sweet culture, because you know, it's people, and I mean, for them, they have law. Italy has more laws on their book than any country in the world.
And nobody follows them.
And nobody follows them, exactly. And what everybody does, ci arrangiamo. You know, we get around it somehow. Like the county assessor who gave us permission to build a barn, he said, look, build a barn. By the time it's finished, there'll be another government here, and then you can ask them for a permit. They'll give you a fine, but at least you'll have your temple.
The fine, I was told the fine would be less than the cost of the permit in the first place.
Yeah, we eventually did build a fine, but we still don't have the permission. Yeah, it's just amazing. And you know, everything works because people make it work. In Italy, it's all about family. People come, young people come, they bring their parents. The parents come, they bring the grandparents. You know, they bring the grandchildren, they bring the parrot, they build, I mean, just everybody comes. And they're all curious. They just want to see what it is. And they're curious, not in the sense of being skeptical, they are truly curious. They come and, you know, what are you doing and how does it work and what are these teachings about? And so open and so receptive. And you can just talk about devotion and sing, and it's a wonderful, wonderful devotees, and very serious devotees. They're deep meditators, deep Kriyabans. They also know how to have a good time. A lot of it, I remember we were really having trouble with the people coming, like in the first 2 years, because they hated the food. Yeah, I mean, in Italy, food is worshipped. It's a whole culture. And it's not just about the food itself, which is really wonderful. Now everybody eats Mediterranean diet, right? Because it's really very well balanced. And they are basically a healthy people. I mean, you don't see fat people, you know, you don't see malnourished people. It's a very nicely balanced diet. But we were Americans and would overcook the pasta. You know, the pasta has to be chewy. It's not supposed to be soft. And a pasta sauce should be made of tomatoes and a little spices. Nothing else goes in a pasta sauce. You know, you don't put vegetables in a pasta sauce. No, it's just nice plain red sauce. You might put some vegetables in with the pasta, you know, and then you pour the red sauce. Anyway, they hated our food. And we had Germans in the kitchen, Americans in the kitchen, you know. And they were always complaining. And Italians, they have to have pasta every day. At least once a day. You know, usually twice. Like for Americans, it's meat. For them, it's pasta. And, you know, we'd have pasta maybe once every 3 days. And they just couldn't stand it. They'd come in the kitchen, where's the pasta? Give me a pot. So, and they'd complain to Swami. And Swami would talk to us, and he said to us, he said, give them God, and they'll stop complaining. So, we got some Italians in the kitchen, which was all right. I remember one day I walked into the kitchen, and I looked around, and there were, you know, our young Americans who had come over for the work-study program and everything. There was not an Italian in the kitchen. And I asked him, I said, has anybody here ever been to a good Italian restaurant and eaten a full-course meal? Nobody had. You know, and I said, how do you know what Italian food is supposed to be like if you've never tasted it? Anyway, we've all, those of us who live there, have grown to appreciate the culture that's around food. And part of it is being at table. You know, you come in, you sit down, and you eat one thing at a time. Just one thing, you know. And then you change your plate and you eat another thing, and then another thing. And you sit there and you enjoy, and you talk to people, you know, and then afterwards you go and you have your coffee. I mean, the coffee comes and everything, and you're there. It's a social time. And, you know, in the beginning, you know, we would go there, eat, and run away, and go back to work. They didn't like that. No, you stay with us. You know, we want to talk, we want to get to know you. So it was getting to know the culture, getting to know the language. But above all, the common ground was meditation. And that's where we really got to know the people there. And people, as I say, come from many countries. We've been living there through a lot of conflicts, the Balkan Peninsula conflicts. You probably heard about them, maybe. The war in Yugoslavia, the breakup of the Yugoslav Federation into its individual components was an unbelievable slaughter and massacre. I mean, the killing fields were unbelievable. I mean, you hadn't seen anything, the world hasn't seen anything like that since World War II. And we were there during that time, and people were coming to us from, and we were going there. We were going and giving classes and establishing meditation groups in Croatia, in Serbia. Before the war started, during the war, we were driving in, and there were, you know, armored trucks along the road. There were buildings that would have been bombed. There were people were firing, you know, their rifles. There were bullet holes, bullets. I mean, everywhere. And we were going in and chanting with people and meditating, and it really got a lot of people through the war. Then we went into Serbia, I think just after the Serbian capital Belgrade was bombed, I think by the United States. And it was dark, very dark there. You know, everybody was depressed, the whole world was against Serbia, but the same thing, chanting, meditation, bringing light. And now these people, I mean, the hatred between the ethnic groups was unbelievable. You couldn't even talk about, you know, the other group to one of them. And now there's many of them living with us, living in harmony. We have the groups, we go there, give Cree initiations. It's just amazing, really, what's happening. We travel to other countries. There's wonderful meditation groups in Spain, and very strong meditation groups in Russia. Russia is really probably, outside of Italy, our largest work.
Wow.
And the Russians are so amazingly dedicated. I mean, I know here in America, at Ananda, it's easy to become comfortable. And sometimes, you know, you don't even want to go downtown or go out to Laurelwood or whatever it is because it's cold outside and the house is really warm. And in Russia, for all of those years of Soviet domination, they couldn't express their spirituality outwardly. But Yogananda's autobiography was known, but it was underground. And people at great risk to themselves would go in the basement by candlelight and type out by hand copies of the autobiography and pass it underground from person to person. You know, they'd translate it and type it and pass it around. And it got out all over the country. And was it during that time? It was probably after the Berlin Wall fell that we began going, I think immediately after that. When did the wall fall? In 1990? 1990, and I think that's the first year we went in. It was the first Russian yoga conference. Ananda was invited to it. Kirtani and Ananda and others went. And we've been going pretty much every year and sometimes more than once a year. The young people, and not only the young people in Russia, they're really looking for spiritual teaching. They're very esoteric. Yoga has always been known there. The Soviets were experimenting with yoga for its powers and for telepathy and for control over the body and for other reasons. But the people are so enthusiastic to have our teachings. You know, Russia, during the time of the Soviets, was spread out over 12 time zones. And that's half the globe. 50% of the globe was covered, you know, by the Soviet Union at that time. And now I think it's because the Baltics are gone, it's still 9 time zones. Yeah, just in Russia. So people, to get somewhere, will travel long distances. We have our main group in Moscow, and it's only recently, in maybe the last 5 years, that it's spread out. But in order to get Hong Sau and energization, in order to learn yoga and chanting, people had to come to Moscow. And some of them would travel 48 hours on a train in one direction, taking off a whole week from work, spending 2 days getting there, 2 days getting back, a weekend. They would get all of their teachings in one weekend, go home, practice them, come back, get discipleship, and they're still traveling long distances. They come to Ananda Sisi almost more than any other country that's close. We have more Russians coming than we do French, Swiss, even Spanish. They are just very committed spiritually. And it's so touching, the sacrifices that they make. And usually 25 or 40 of them come every summer to study the teachings, to get their initiations, to get teacher training programs, and to learn to be Ananda yoga teachers and meditation teachers. And then they go out and teach. So the work is spreading now. There's a group in the Ukraine, in Odessa, a group in the Ural Mountains, a group in Kiev, a group in St. Petersburg. And these are the devotees, what should I say, who are so admirable because it costs them so much and it means so much to them. And they're so incredibly generous. I mean, we give Kriya initiations, just for example, in very well-to-do countries, but no country touches Russia in the generosity of the donations that come in from Kriya. I mean, I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars that will be in those envelopes, and even more. Yeah, they are just so grateful for these teachings. So when you see that and when you realize how precious, how valuable, how valid our teachings are, and how connected we are with everyone. When you come on the pilgrimage later this year, you'll see a lot of those people. Some of them will be there. You'll begin to make friendships. It would be nice if Portland had a twin center.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
maybe you could be a twin with Moscow or a twin with Odessa or something, and you could exchange and write and Skype each other, and it would be a wonderful thing. That would be a wonderful thing to do. You should get on the internet and look, just look for Ananda websites in Europe. And even if you can't understand them, get on ananda.ru for Russia. You won't understand a word, but just go through it and look at it. Go to ananda.serbia, go to ananda.croatia, go to ananda.spain, and just look at them. So you can see some pictures of your brothers and sisters there. So this brings me to the film, and this is the last thing I'll talk about, and then I'll let you ask questions. So, Master's vision of World Brotherhood Colonies spreading all over the world, not just for the sake of spreading, but for the sake of helping world consciousness, because that's what's going to lift. We know that this is where solutions are. You know, it's just because, not because we're having a nice life and we live in the country and we have city centers and we have a nice warm community room. It's because we're making a real contribution, because we are living with a different perspective. We're living in a different way. We have different priorities. Different things are important to us. And these impulses are changing the consciousness, and you see it. Things that people never used to talk about are now common. Everything's energy these days. People are practicing the energization all over the world, drawing energy to them, using the energization for healing. Master's vision is being realized. So Swami felt that it was time for this example, for what we've dedicated our lives to, for what Master is doing through all of us, for everything that has been accomplished, for this to come out into the world. We often kid, oh, Ananda is the best kept secret in the world. But Swami was saying when writing this movie, it can't be a secret anymore. It's time. The incubation period is complete. And it's time for this message to spread out, for people to take heart, take hope, come or not come, but begin to change their lives and to build communities. And to start, Swami's express purpose for this movie is to encourage people to learn about communities, about higher consciousness, and start them. Really to develop communities everywhere. And so this film has come into being. We really got off the ground less than a year ago. We're in February. It was in February that things really got in place with the script and with some potential fundraising and plans for investment. And in March, we geared up and had enough investment money in the bank to really put the team in place. The team being the producer, the director, the secondary producer, the production manager. The team got in place around April, May. And the pre-production started. And then, as I was saying this morning, it was just this wave of grace. It was just happening. It was, I often describe it as one of those fast trains, you know, like the bullet trains in Japan, and they have them now in Italy. They're called the Red Arrow. It was like the fast train had taken off, and we were just holding on to it, you know, from the outside, just being pulled along and pulled along. It just had it has a motive power of its own, and it's going at the speed of light. And we're just running and running and trying to keep up with it. And because of this wave of grace, Babaji, Master and Babaji just kept moving it, always on the right track, in the right way. And one of the most wonderful things about this movie is that every person who it touches, you know, people who have no idea about spirituality, who scoff at spirituality, who think, oh yeah, this little movie, yeah, okay, we don't have a job right now, we'll work on it. Every one of them is touched. We began filming at the end of July. We had a Babaji Day celebration on July 25th to bless the film. On July 26th in the morning, the filming began. There's a crew of 26 people. Some people who are here right now present were up during the second part. Bob came up and was in charge of what was called craft services, which means feeding people their snacks, getting their snacks to them, their water. He was the water boy. The water instead, the hot dog guy. And craft services. And
well, tell them what that means.
Yeah, tell them what that means.
Well, all these titles that they give the various people that work there are from the beginning of the film industry. And so each particular element that makes a production work is a particular craft. You have the sound, you have the lighting, you have the people that move stuff, you have the people that direct stuff. Each is a craft. And so to serve the different crafts requires craft services.
That's right, I didn't know that.
Give them food mainly?
Yeah. And to serve them. And we were filming at 100-degree temperatures for most of the time. And so, you know, just the water delivery and that, and you know, they take their breaks. Anyway, Vajra came up and was our locations coordinator for the second part, and Pavani was the assistant to the actress and taking care of her needs, which were not a few. And so the train started going. I was, I think, did I mention today about the actress, or at some time about the actress? When was I, yeah, about how she was convincing, yeah. This was a big, I don't really worry, but sometimes I worry. So I was, and I look ahead. I try to anticipate, you know, things, and I could tell from the script that this actress wasn't going to have a big part. You know, the big part was Ananda and the people of Ananda, and Swami Kriyananda to a lesser extent, more important, but and just Swami Kriyananda's probably FaceTime on the film about 10 minutes out of 92. The actress is always there, but I mean, she doesn't have this huge, she doesn't have a dramatic role. And so it needed to be the right person. It needed to be a person who had some attunement, but still, you know, wasn't somebody who was dyed-in-the-wool Ananda. Or, anyway, I was saying, God, how can we do that? And first we started thinking of, who did we have? We wanted Juliette Binoche, was my first choice, and which is why the character in the movie is called Juliette, because our director wanted Juliette Binoche. He knows Juliette Binoche. He's worked with her. He's not the producer. And he said, oh, she'd be perfect. And, oh, God, she's wonderful, such an actress. And she lives in France, you know? And that's complicated, for sure. And it's very complicated to get a French actress over. Won't even bore you with that. And so, and then some of my partners wanted Kate Blanchett, and you know, they were going for all the A-list actresses, and I didn't know this isn't going to work. And it was taken care of. You know, the critical call was that I remembered I had met an assistant casting director a year before when we were laying the groundwork, and that he had become, you know, had his own business. And that somebody said, call him. And so that one phone call just started the energy rolling that eventually brought that actress. I'd like to tell you just some current news about this actress. So you don't even know who she is. She's not a Buddhist. This actress, her name is Elizabeth Rom. She's played in some films. She's played in television series, including Law and Order, Angels, other things. People who watch television are familiar with her. She's never the main character in it. She's a supporting actress. Her mother was a devotee, first a direct devotee, first of the Maharishi, Mahesh Yogi, and then of Muktananda, and then his successor, Guru Mai. They lived in New York, and this actress, Elizabeth, grew up in those ashrams, literally in those ashrams, lived in them. She was living with Guru Mai, she was wearing saris, so she was in the whole scene. And then she went to college. She pursued a career in writing, discovered she could act, began to pursue a career in acting. She's now published her 3rd book and is always appearing in movies and in television series. So that was her spiritual upbringing and connection. But then she got away from it for quite a number of years. And then her mother died unexpectedly, and she lost contact with her spirituality. And that was it. That was like the last thread. And right before she received a call from the casting agent, she had been praying rather desperately, knowing that her life had gotten so far away from her spiritual origins. And she was asking God for some way to come back. She was praying, saying, I want to come closer to you now. I'm ready. And the phone rang. And it was this casting agent, and that's why she was saying that she was the right person, because it was an answer to her prayer, and it was an answer to our prayer. And she's beautiful. I think you've seen some clips of her, and she's a genuinely luminous person. There's not an angle from which she's not luminous and beautiful. The camera loved her, and you know, we had to ask, you know, after the movie was put together, to pull her out a little bit. I mean, she was just always there, close up in her beautiful eyes. But she herself was hoping to have a personal reawakening. That was her hope when she took the job, and that did in fact happen. She asked Swami Kriyananda for a spiritual name and received one, Ishwari. She has a young daughter, 5-year-old daughter, who got the name Kumari. Elizabeth had and continues to visit regularly Lake Shrine in Pacific Palisades, and just a few weeks ago went for the first time to Mount Washington to visit. And she told me that when she arrived on the property, went in the house, she just burst out in tears, and her heart said to Yogananda, you are my guru. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes, but we have a date to go back to Mount Washington, and she is of course coming for the Ananda premiere at the end of July at Ananda Village. So she'll be there, and if you come, and I hope you bring a group down, you can meet her. The big premiere, the big rollout, is going to be in Los Angeles around Swami's 65th anniversary of discipleship. The date set is the 21st of September. And Dad and Gangamat are ready in the movement of organizing and bringing a group down for that. I mean, it's going to be a wonderful occasion, and the director and the producers and journalists and TV, it's going to be the whole 9 yards. And it's going to be, if things go well, at the Biltmore Hotel where Yogananda left his body. So it's going to be a pilgrimage. It's going to be the premiere of the film. Swami is going to be there. It's just going to be marvelous, marvelous, marvelous. So the film was, the visual part was completed this past week. It's done. It's at the sound lab right now.
Can I go back?
Yes.
I may be speaking out of turn, and if I am...
Not at all. That's not possible.
Well, yeah. But I'll try not to do that. Well, Swami is not traveling well, and there's a sense that this may be his last U.S. visit, and that would probably be his last U.S. presentation or access. So I really mark the date. If you have any capacity and inclination, I would encourage you to put it on your calendar to be at that moment.
September 21st.
This is the culmination, and I don't know if he said it or you said it about him, but that this movie, those who've seen it say it is such a perfect representation of his life's work and what he's tried to bring of Master's teachings to this world, that if he died tomorrow, his life's work would have been done, is the general feeling. And so the release of it at the Biltmore in LA, where Master left his body while he was there, where so much has happened, it's going to be one of those unbelievably magical moments. So if you can come, well, I don't care if we turn out the lights and close down all of Ananda here in Portland for that weekend. You know, if everybody wants to come, everybody should come.
What's the date,
21st, December 20, September.
You know what day of the week that is?
Saturday.
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 Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll find, you know, some hotels with good prices and try to get a block. A lot of people will stay at the Biltmore, which is really wonderful. It's not hugely expensive, and we can get a good price. And it's not cheap, but it's not outrageous. It's a beautiful place. So Swami, when he saw the first cut of the movie, was overwhelmed. Some of you perhaps have read the letter that he wrote. All of us who have seen us, which are just a few of us, just the production team, we just can't believe it. I mean, it's so far beyond our hopes and dreams. I mean, that's what film can do. You know, it's magic. And none of it is fanciful. It's just, it's about genuineness. It's about people being happy. It's about people having found. It's about everything that we are and we live. And Swami said he was very proud of all of us because he could see that through us, the people who were interviewed in the movie, representing everybody, that everything he hoped has been fulfilled.
Did he write the script?
He wrote a script, and we followed the outline, but everybody spoke in their own words. So every Ananda person is spontaneous.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, of course, everybody knew what they were going to say, and you know, getting it down to like 1 minute sound bites and 2 minute sound bites. But it's everybody's own words. You know, Swami kind of suggested some themes, and so the film is now called Finding Happiness. The film is official. The title is ours, and the new website is going up. And we're in a wonderful time. It'll be finished by early April. And it will show first in Assisi. That's kind of where the energy started. And the first investors and supporters are from Europe.
Excuse me, will it be in different languages, or will it be in English and subtitled? Or?
It will be subtitled. And we'll get the subtitles done for its screening. These are screenings, they're not really premieres, because a distributor we hope will take it and then do the premieres. Swami has suggested that the movie not be dubbed, because the quality, you know, of the voices are very, very important.
So the Italians will see it?
The Italians will see it in original language with subtitles.
Italian subtitles.
Yeah.
Are you part of the production team? Were you an
Yes.
associate producer?
Yes, yeah, I'm actually the producer, executive producer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which doesn't mean anything. It just means that, okay, for me, what it meant was just to keep the train on the track. That's all. Just to always keep it on the track, moving forward. And
That's what a producer does.
yeah, exactly.
Good distinction, though.
Not on the track still. Just always moving forward. And as a part of that, I'm looking now to the future, because now the movie's done and it's almost complete. But that's just the beginning. Because now this movie needs to be seen by people everywhere, all over the world, in lots of languages. It needs to get to people where they are. College students need to see this. High school students need to see this. In city colleges, people in communities movement, in the whatever, vegetarian movement, people in the yoga movement, people in all over. So we're focusing now on the marketing, on the promotion, on the distribution. And then we want to take this film out personally and go out, show it in all kinds of venues and conferences. If you know of places, please write to me. It's easy, Shivani at Ananda.it for Italy. And I would really like for, because I feel the energy is right here, that Laurelwood is and should be base camp, both for tours going out, showing the movie, talking about the movie, having discussions, having workshops around the film, and as a training center in community living. Because we have it, you know, there's the community, there's the facility, we know what it takes, and I'm hoping to put together a curriculum and find the people who really would like to help run a 1-year and possibly a 2-year program, that people who want to go out and start communities can come and learn everything about community, from spiritual self-development and self-realization as the basis, to everything practical, to land search, land development, land purchase, water, wastewater, all of the practical things, decision making, government, leadership, relationships, conflict resolution, all of the things that we do every day to be able to share this with people, help them understand, you know, some guidelines, live it with them so that they have a 1-year or 2-year experience, and then they go out. Because that's the message of the movie. Swami says at the end of the movie, why don't you start? Go ahead. So she says, what can I do? You know, why don't you start a community? You know, just go out, get some people, get some friends together, be kind to each other. It's not so difficult. So that's what he wants. And this is the opportunity that we have right now, because these past 25 years has given us stability here, and because of the expansion, now there's Laurelwood, and so much potential. And this really is, as Swami envisioned, the training center, right? For teachers, for education for life, for the college, for communities. I think it's all going to happen. I think Laurelwood is Ananda's future. Yeah, it's Ananda's present, but it is definitely Ananda's future. And not just Ananda's future. I think it is base camp for the spreading of communities throughout the world. I think people will be coming here in large numbers, so get ready. Please do. Yeah, I think all of Ananda, when our marketing director saw the movie for the first time, she'd never been to Ananda, hardly knows anything about Ananda except what she sees on the website. She was thinking, well, it might be a nice little movie to promote. She saw the movie one evening on her computer, as she said, if it hadn't been midnight, she would have gotten in her car and driven up to Ananda, because she wanted to be there and she wanted to talk to every person who she saw. She just said it was unbelievably magnetic and charming, and predicts that the movie will reach many more people than we think that it will. It's going to take a concerted effort. It's going to take every one of us all over the world of Ananda to take this movie out there. It'll go through the normal channels, and we have people who do that. But that's not enough, because we have to go through the alternative channels, the other channels, and get this movie into people's hands. It will come out on DVD at the same time that it's in theaters, and we hope it will be in some theaters. And we want that DVD to sell, pay back all the investors, and just go out and spread everywhere. So that's why I'm here. And I'm going to be here for the next 2 days, and if you want to talk to me, please do. You know where I'm staying. And
Here?
Here, yeah, I'm staying in their house. And that's it. So please, let's take just a little time. We have maybe another 10 minutes for give you a chance to ask questions or comments about anything you've heard. Yes?
I'm just curious how the name was changed, why it was changed, and how that came about.
Certainly. Okay. You know, naming a movie is not an easy thing, because you don't know what you have. So our director and editors were dealing with between 50 and 100 hours of footage and interviews and landscapes and so forth, which could have been put together in 100 different ways. So for the last couple years, we gave a title to it. Started out being The Disciple, then The Answer, which is now another movie. Then Swami wanted to call it Islands of Happiness. Then we decided on Cities of Light, because of the book and the vision and Cities of Light. But a lot of people were not satisfied with Cities of Light. You know, they thought it probably wouldn't say exactly what the movie was about, but none of us knew what the movie was about. And everybody kept telling me, when we see the movie, it will tell us what its title is. And I believed them, but I couldn't stop myself from trying to figure out what the title of the movie was. So, so we asked people, and we collected 200 possible names, and we prioritized them, and we voted on them, and we went through all of these things. And the marketer kept saying, wait till we see the movie. And it was when the director himself, who wanted the movie to be called An Expanding Light from the beginning, that was his title for it, and that's what he was going for, to make the movie be An Expanding Light. When the movie was finished, he said, it's Finding Happiness. And throughout the movie, it comes back again and again to this theme. It's mentioned at least 4 different times in the movie. Sometimes once Finding Happiness, and then in slightly different ways. And I'm not going to tell you anymore.
Shivani, tell them what Joel used to say before each shot to Ted.
It was so, yeah, and I wrote to Swami about this, and I'm about to write to Joel.
Who's Joel?
The first assistant director is Joel. Now, these are all professional people who have worked in the film industry for many, many years, even decades. And it's the job of the first director, amongst other things, to call out when a scene is finished. You know, a scene will be taken many times. Like, we filmed Swami for 6 days, twice a day, 3 hours. So Swami was filmed like for 18 hours, and there was only 2 scenes there. So they were filmed many times. Now, normally on a set, when a film is, when a scene is finished, what do they say? It's a take. Okay.
It's in the can.
No, it's not in the can.
No?
It's not in the can until it's in the can.
Okay.
It's a take. And the director will tell him, that, okay, we got it. But when our director would say to Joel, okay, we got it, Joel would call out, happiness! That was just his thing.
Well, he used to use it as a question too.
Oh, right, happiness?
Yeah, he would come to the director, happiness? The director would go, one more time.
Right. Right. And then finally he'd call out to
They were finding happiness.
right. And he had it all the time. And I'm going to write him and tell. We're hoping that in July at the Village, and the date there is the 27th of July, cast and crew reunion, reenactment of the garden party in Beverly Hills, the costumes, behind the scenes that nobody's seen, interviews. There's going to be a lot of fun things happening in July at the Village. So these are two really
Is that
important
open to the public? Is that,
yeah.
Okay, okay. So it's not just a cast reunion, but
No.
reunion, but public involved.
Right. Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, we're expecting probably 400 people. All of us. Yes.
Most DVDs now have bonus material that have things like that. Is that going
Yes.
to be probably on the DVD, or at least some
Yes,
of it?
and we haven't. I started thinking about the bonus materials like a year and a half ago, before we had the film, because I was worried the film wouldn't be good, so I would get really good bonus material.
A backup plan.
And,
Like buying the car.
but then once I saw how well the film was going, I haven't really begun yet to focus on the bonus materials. But yes, there will be, and as soon as I have some brain bandwidth, we'll get it. There'll be behind the scenes. There'll be interviews. There'll be a little more on the garden party at Beverly Hills, the costume, the period piece. This is a real professional film. I mean, it's going to blow your mind. I mean, it really is. You know, there's helicopter shots. There's everything. They just knew what they were doing. And Babaji really knew what he was doing. He picked every one of those people. Another thing I'll tell you real quickly. We were 26 people. They have been on all kinds of sets, and you know, they're hard workers, and they're, you know, guys, and they've got tattoos on, and all this stuff. And we're into it, filming just 3 days. We're at Crystal Hermitage, and we've been filming Swami and the flowers, and you know, this gorgeous astral place and everything. Third day, the line producer comes up, who is the most practical guy on the whole set, Frank, and kind of like the least likely to be interested in anything spiritual. I mean, he's, what is it, is Madonna the material girl? He's the material guy. So, sweet guy, but I mean, just material. He comes up to me and says, I've been thinking about the wrap party. You know, what you have at the end of the film.
WRAP.
WRAP. And he said, you know, we should give something to the crew. I said, oh yeah, we're going to give them, you know, this and a photograph and a t-shirt. He said, well, I think I know what they would really like. I said, what, Frank? What do you think? Anything, just tell me. He said, I think they'd like an Ananda name.
Whoa.
And I just looked at him and I said, you gotta be kidding. He said, no, I really think they would like that. And I said, would you like that? He said, yeah, I think that would be neat. And so we started work. And every one of them got a hero's name from the Mahabharata. And they got a little card, and it was about the Mahabharata, their name, what their name, not what their name meant spiritually so much as what they did in the war, you know. Yeah, you know, the general, the teacher, Arjuna was Joel, the happiness guy. And he uses his name.
Wow.
He signs his letters Joel Arjuna writes, and in the credits, in the end credits, he's put Arjuna in. And he's read How to Meditate, read the autobiography, and is meditating. I mean, I can't tell you how many of the people were deeply touched. Certainly by Swami, by this movie. Everybody who's touched by it, they just get really happy. The cinematographer, I mean, just on and on and on. And I hope we'll tell some of their some of their stories.
I'm told there are 2 other movies too.
There are many other movies. One of them is being filmed right now as we speak. The movie about Swami's life, which is a drama, almost the whole thing enacted with actors. It's called The Answer, and it's Swami retelling his life to a spiritual seeker who is desperate and looking for guidance.
I always want to know the screenwriter.
Hmm?
Is he the screenwriter?
Yeah,
Swami?
yes. Swami's the screenwriter. And
Where is that being
it's
filmed?
being filmed in Calcutta in these last couple days at Master's House on the streets of Calcutta. Then it'll be filmed in Mumbai for a couple days. All of the scenes with Swami, because a little bit of it is Swami now speaking to this, and then it's a flashback. Yeah, and then it comes back to Swami and the seeker, and then it's a flashback. So they're filming Swami and this spiritual seeker now. And we just got word that that movie just got funded, which means now it'll be on the fast track. And probably within another year.
Are they going to film in Romania and places like that?
Don't know. Yeah, they'll have to figure that out. They would like to, but you know, and they just got a famous actor to agree to be Yogananda.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, Victor Banerjee. Victor, you can look him up on the internet. Victor Banerjee played a supporting role in the movie Passage to India, the Forrester movie. And he's about 65, 66 years old. Looks a little old, but they'll young him down. And he and Swami met for an hour and loved each other. And he's agreed to play Yogananda in this film. So having the actor, having the funding, they have the director and the producer. So now it's really on the track. So this is the film phase.
And the actor for Swami's part?
Don't know, and there's going to have to be many of them. Swami is a child, Swami is a youth, Swami probably during the SRF years, and then Swami a little older. So there'll probably be at least three Swamis in it, and maybe a couple of Yoganandas. I don't know what scenes they'll catch.
There's also the Yogananda movie.
There's the Yogananda movie, which Swami has also written the script for, and that's on hold for the moment while these other movies are moving along. And if Victor Banerjee, gets into it and things work out well, maybe Banerjee will continue to play Yogananda. Then Swami wrote and said, gee, wouldn't it be nice if John Parsons' book, Fight for Religious Freedom, were made into a movie. The producer of Finding Happiness, at Swami's request, is thinking of ways of making a film of the Peace Treaty and Pilgrimage to Guadalupe.
Wow.
So if any of you are interested in film production, please let me know, because I'm not. This is a one act. For me, but Swami fully intends to, no, I'm serious. If you are, we've got things set up, we have experience now, we have contacts, the machine can go along. Okay, any final question? One more.
Finding Happiness is present day with one flashback.
Finding Happiness is correct. It's all current with one flashback to the Beverly Hills Garden Party.
How's it being portrayed? Is it like a, it's not like a documentary, right? Or, it's not completely fiction.
It's partially documentary in that there is historical footage and historical photographs in it, backing up the interviews. And there's interviews. So it's a blend, a very difficult one to achieve well, and I think we have succeeded. It's called a docudrama. And it's kind of a new genre in these past few years.
How are the conversations? What prompts the conversation? Can you just give the thread through the movie? I think that's what he's asking.
Yeah, there's a journalist who comes, who's given by her boss an assignment that she's not keen on, to cover this particular man and what he's done. And so she comes to explore, and she meets people and asks them about themselves and their life and what they do and what makes the community work and so forth. So there are many interviews. And then she has her own transformational experiences. She learns to do yoga, she learns to meditate, she meets people, she thinks to herself.
But it's all named as Ananda, right? It's understood.
Oh yes.
That's,
No, it's clearly Ananda. She's going to Ananda.
Is it a sales pitch for Ananda?
It's not. There's nobody anywhere, not even Swami, says come and learn here, come and study here. Nothing like that. But Ananda speaks for itself. But the message of the movie is go out and do it. It's possible. This is a wonderful way of life. Go out and do it. The message is not come here. But people will come here.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Especially if anybody's tried it.
And there's footage of the different colleges, right?
There's a little bit of footage. There's a little bit of the college, there's a couple shots of Portland, Ananda Portland, in it as well.
Can we give this legs, as well as saying thank you to Shivani for spending this time with us this evening, today, and the last few days, and launch the next phase of the movie along with her as she gets ready to go on to the next things in life. So let's rub our hands together and chanting Om, send her all our love and friendship and support for this miracle that's happening through her into the world.
One last word from Swami. He wrote an email recently and said about this movie will change the way the world perceives Master's work. Yeah.